Give all of you a little perfect. Give all of you a little update. Fantastic. Okay, great. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for being here. I am realizing that there we go. Okay. Get my slideshow going. So thank you for hopping on today or watching this recording later. We are going to be spending our time today focusing on our culinary competition, as well as just some registration tidbits and information for both culinary and management competitions. But we are actually going to get some um, information today specifically from Greg. And then either next week or the following week, we're going to do a part two that is specific to management because we had a little bit of scheduling stuff arise. But that way, you don't have to just listen to me yap. You get to hear directly from people who have been involved in the development and the judging and coaching and mentoring of these specific competitions. So I'm really excited for Greg to be here today. So I'm going to go through what I've got for you and then pass it over to him. This should be, open and informal. If you've got questions, like please feel free to just unmute yourself and hop on or put anything in the chat. And yeah, please feel empowered to interrupt me at any point. Perfect. So I just wanted to briefly go over registration with everybody. So a few main things, and all of this can be found on the Montana FCCLA website. So that's mtfccla.org. If you are looking at the home page of that website, on the top right, there are a lot of different pages. And on my browser, it typically shows up directly underneath awards, but sometimes it shows up to the right of awards, but it says ProStart. And there's a specific page on there that has all of our information. And there is a secondary page just about competition information. So this is where I'm pulling all of that from. I'm going to share this presentation out with you as well, but all of those links are on that website. And I want to make sure that everybody feels really good about knowing where to find things. So there are kind of three initial components of registration that are really important. The first one is that we are requiring all of our participants to submit a work-based hours log. I've gotten a couple questions about what is this? What's it used for? And I think that's a great question. Anytime that we can demonstrate that our students are directly working in the hospitality industry, that is going to benefit us when we have to submit reports. It's going to help us with funding. It's going to help us show that there are students that are connected to the hospitality industry. And this is just a way for us to document that and start tracking it. And then we can also track our progress and maybe look for some trends. So it's exciting to collect data, maybe not as exciting for you all to submit it sometimes, but it's really valuable and we really appreciate it. So we did work that into the rules this year, that it does need to be submitted. So make sure that you are getting that done and reach out if you have questions.
Hey, Jordan, the one thing that we might
Yes.
want to also remind folks, it
Mhm.
might sound like a big undertaking to try to document all of that, but if the students have been working in a restaurant or a situation related to culinary arts, they probably have some paycheck stubs, and it'd be pretty easy for them to, reference that. I think it also includes volunteer work, concession stands, lots of different types of activities, but we appreciate any information that people can provide us for that for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Tracy. And that's true. I remember for concessions, oftentimes you have to kind of keep logs of who's working what hours anyway. So hopefully that is information that you do feel like is readily available, or maybe it will motivate you to put a system in place to keep track of that really easily too. Whether you want to have each individual student start working on filling those out and then you can, cross check it. Yeah, feel free to reach out if you've got an idea that works really well or if you need help developing a system. And I'm happy to reach out and see if there's some really awesome systems in place so that it doesn't feel like such a big ask each competition round. Perfect. So the second thing is to actually do your registration form. And on the ProStart page on our website, this is going to be down towards the bottom and it's directly above two like downloadable links, one that's waivers and one that is the rules. It's a blue heading. It looks like it might just be the heading, but it's actually a hyperlink. So if you click on that, it's nice and big, large, bold, and it will take you directly to a form to fill out that is due on February 11th by midnight. Okay. Um, we are having things submitted at that time so that way we can make sure that we are reaching out, giving enough time for teams to make any, quick changes, especially if you are using the same recipe that you might have used with your team in the last 3 years. That gives us time to review that, get back in touch with you, make sure that we are abiding all of our rules, and have enough time to collect everything and organize it. So please, please, please make sure you're submitting it on time and you're earning all of your points. We don't want to be docked penalty points for turning things in late. So February 11th is kind of that magic date to keep in mind. And then the third, general part of registration is to make sure that students are signing and submitting their waivers. I've included the link on here. It's also at the bottom of that page for competition information that I've been referencing. So please make sure that each student is signing that. And these are kind of the three, like I said, three main points of registration before you're submitting materials for actual competition. Okay. And then I'm going to turn it over to Tracy for a moment so we can kind of discuss some of our, the excitement with growth, but also some of the challenges that can be, brought upon our growth of our program when it comes to scheduling our actual competition. So we want to make sure we are communicating clearly and effectively and early with some of this stuff. So, Tracy, take it away.
Well, that sounds like I'm going to say a whole lot of great things,
I
and
know.
I've just got a couple of things. So yeah, like Jordan said, once we have everyone's registration in, we'll work on a schedule for participation. If you've been over to the competition in previous years, you might understand what I mean when I say space is really pretty limited. Jordan did a great job at finding some nooks and crannies that we can expand to a little bit and coming up with some other options like last year. And I'm anticipating this year it will be the same case. The management competition might not be in that same building
Mm-hmm.
where the culinary is happening. And that's really because we needed that actual space so that we could add another station and accommodate more teams. We do encourage you to submit those forms earlier, especially the registration form. If it comes down to a situation where we're first come, first serve, I know we can accommodate 8, and I think last year we did 9. I'm not confident we can go much past that. So if it comes down to making a decision about who's eligible based on space, we'll have to go with the chronological timestamp on those forms. The other piece of that is, of course, if you're excited and you have 2 great teams and you have a management and a culinary, and you remember that I just said they're not going to be in the same building, probably, the chances are good that you might not be able to watch your team compete start to finish in both of those competitions. I know that's exciting and that's your culminating ta-da of the whole year's work. But when it comes down to trying to just make sure we've got a spot for everybody, it might not be logistically possible to make sure that every teacher gets to be there for every competition. So I just want to make sure that everybody's clear on that. There's a lot of details that have to be accomplished in that last month before the competition happens. And sometimes we just can't accommodate extra schedule changes. So we're very excited that everyone wants to participate, but we're also doing our best to manage that so we can accommodate everyone.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you all for understanding that. And we're, constantly doing not only the best we can, but looking for ways to improve in the future too. And so, just keep in mind that we're doing the best we can. We understand some of those excitements and frustrations, but we're always looking for ways to improve and to expand. So yeah, thanks for working with us on that. Perfect. Okay, so pretty quick and painless, honestly, on my end. I'm going to turn it over to Greg, and I'm going to fiddle with stopping sharing my screen and coordinate so that he's allowed to share his screen. I think it should be good to go. Greg, if you want to try.
It says it's not turned on.
It says, okay, I think
So
it
I'll
says all
send a
per
little
there we go.
request.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All
And
right.
cast
Hey, there we
in.
go. And
Cool.
I run into my normal problem of I've got 87 screens up on my computer.
Always.
I think this is the correct one. Boy, things are
Oh yeah,
coming.
yep, we see it.
All right, but it's in a weird place, so I can't see it.
Oh, that's not
There we
helpful.
go. All right. Now I've got it. Okay. Um, yeah, I just wanted to go through like some basic things about prepping, getting ready, um, normal things you see when you're competing, things to work on, and then again, questions are more than welcome. Stop anytime and ask questions. Um, some of the basic things I want you to think about is don't look at this competition as this huge conglomerate of a lot of things you got to do. It's just a series of little things, and you tackle each little thing as you go. And when you put it all together, you've got a team and you've got a menu and you've got a plan. We'll talk a little bit about team selection, some strategies for practicing, and then some nuts and bolts things as well. One of the things that I have always suggested, and I did it when I was teaching, just a background, I taught at a ProStart school in Indiana for 6 years and competed in ProStart every year. Um, and then I actually ran the national ProStart program for several years as well. But when I was teaching, um, we created a contract for the team members and the parents because this is a tremendous amount of work. It's a lot of fun, but I don't want the kids, your students, to come in thinking, well, if I just show up for a few practices and show up for a little bit of the planning, then I'm good. I tried to lay it out with this is what's expected, this is when we will practice, this is how it will all work, and it is some time out of your day, out of your life, and be prepared. And then I wanted the parents to know that as well. So they knew if we were doing practices after school, or if we were doing practices early in the morning, or needed to do a practice on a Saturday or something. The parents knew what was happening. And it really helped get rid of um, miscommunications and hard feelings later on as we kept going. So as you're practicing, as you're starting to put your menu together, your practices together, I always try to work through each component rather than trying to do the entire 3 courses all at one shot. It's let's work on just the protein today, or just one element from each dish, and do that until you're comfortable with it, and then start putting it all together. Um, be prepared that a dish just doesn't work and you got to trash it and start over. We did that. I helped with the team from Colorado last year, and they ended up fifth in the nation, so I'm a little bit proud of that. But when we started, our original protein for our entree was a duck breast. And 2 or 3 practices in, the student who was doing it was just not even close. It was not even happening that they were even getting the concept of how to do it correctly. So we sat down, we were like, what is the problem? And she looked us straight in the face and said, I hate duck. I cannot stand eating it. It's like, okay, then we need to find something else because it's really hard to get excited about cooking a dish that you can't stand. So we were well into practicing and we chucked it all, started over, did a pork cheek instead, and it obviously worked. But be prepared that this is something we all thought was going to go. It's not happening. So we might need to just start all over. Um, and that goes along with matching your team members with food that they actually like to eat, or even more so, food that they know. We see at the national level and at many state competitions a ton of scallops for appetizers. First off, they're really expensive to practice with. And second, how many kids in Montana know what a scallop is supposed to taste like? There's probably some, I'm sure there is, but I would say that majority wouldn't know if they were eating a scallop if it was correct or not. So is that a good choice? How about choosing something that they eat every day or eat something that they know? Um, it might be, if you feel like you have to do seafood, most students have probably had shrimp at some point. A lot cheaper, a little more approachable, or find something completely different that they know, that they like, that they understand. And the same with the entree. If you're doing foods that they just don't know, that takes a lot longer to get them prepared to start cooking it because they have to understand the food first. Um, when you have four people or five people on your team, um, deciding where that fourth person goes, because you'll have one on entree, one on appetizer, and one on dessert. So what does the fourth person do? There's two options. One, you can have them be a swing person where they do a little bit for everyone. Um, as you're going through, you'll find out which tasks are taking someone too long. They take that, so they might be doing a little bit with appetizer, a little bit with entree, a little bit with dessert, wherever they need to be used at that moment. And as you practice, that will become honed in, and they'll know exactly what their timeline looks like. The other option is there one course that is just taking a lot of time and a lot of hands? When I coached teams, typically that was the dessert course. Just took a lot more hands, a lot more time. And so I would normally have one person on entree, one person on appetizer, and two people on dessert. That's not what you have to do. It's just what I did. Even if I did have two people on dessert, one of them might step away and help the entree person for a few minutes if they've got something going on. So that's what you kind of have to decide, and it'll come naturally as you start practicing of where does that fourth person fit in the best. Um, find the right equipment to use. Remember, you're just doing two portions of each plate. So you don't need a 6-quart stock pot. There's no need for that. Find small equipment, find little things. We scoured the Facebook Marketplace. We went to garage sales. We went to Home Goods. We went to Pier 1, everywhere. And we found tiny little pots and pans that were perfect for cooking 5 ounces of sauce. Um, so then you don't have all these giant pots and pans that you're trying to deal with. You've got things that fit what you're actually cooking. To make that work, we used a griddle pan that we put on top of the burner. So we put the griddle pan on the burner, and then you could put all your little pots and pans on the griddle pan. And then you could have 5 or 6 things going at the same time rather than just one pan on that burner. Um, it takes some planning. We didn't do it all in 1 year. It probably took us 3 years to build the inventory of pots and pans that we wanted. But then once you have it, you're done. You've got them forever. So it's a little bit of work to get that inventory started, but once you have it, it makes life quite a bit easier. Practice setting up your speed rack. Know where things are. One of the things that we do, I might have this later too, but I'm gonna touch on it now. We color coded everything. So each competitor had their own color. So all the pots and pans, knives, sheet pans, everything they would use would have a little piece of tape on it with their color. So they knew exactly what was theirs. Um, you can use fingernail polish. It's just harder to get off. We use hockey tape sometimes. It's whatever you want to use to color code everything. Then when you are setting up your speed rack, you can have one or two sheet pans for each competitor, for each student, and then they know exactly which one is theirs, and they'll grab things as they need it. Um, Start thinking about, as you practice and you start getting farther into the practices, start thinking about, I have to haul in all of my food, all my equipment. Start your practice with that, with everything packed up and walking in rather than having everything set. That way they get used to unpacking things before they start cooking. It also helps them remember to pack everything so they don't forget anything. Um, and then as you do your mise en place time and your setup time, you practice through that and then be ready for what is your first move? When the timer says your cooking time starts now, what's the first thing you're going to do? And intentionally think about that. So if the first thing I'm going to do is, let's say, cut a lemon, that means at the end of my prep time, I have a cutting board, I have the lemon, I have the knife in my hand. So when they say cooking time starts now, I drop the knife and go. I'm not looking for my lemon. Think about your first move and have everything ready to go to do that when they say go. Part of that, sure, it saves a few seconds, but part of that also just gets your competitors into the mindset that I am ready. I know exactly what's going to happen next. I'm ready and I'm excited for them to say go so I can start. Part of what I had that was unique when I was teaching, um, and also working when I worked with the team from Colorado, I was at a career and tech center, so we had several schools feed into our building. So I might have four students on my team that didn't know each other, that had never met. So we did some intentional team bonding things. We went out to eat together. We went to a this is also great for a fundraiser. We went to a restaurant that was in the area and worked with the chef there. And they were normally closed on Monday nights, but they let us take over the restaurant on Monday night. So parents were servers. They had a couple of their kitchen folks there too, but my team cooked a variation of their ProStart meal. We sold tickets. We served, boy, I don't remember, by the last year we did it, we probably served 150 people, 200 people. Um, the restaurant took what they needed to pay for food and gave us the rest. So we made a couple $1,000s in a heartbeat. So it was a lot of fun. The team got to work together. The parents got to be involved. It was really a fun evening and we made some money. Um, the other thing we did is as we were practicing and we're getting close to the state competition, there are times, and you can see it in your students' eyes, that they are done. They are ready to take a bite out of each other. They are done. That's when you're like, okay, we had a practice scheduled for tomorrow morning. We're not going to do it. We're just going to cancel that one. Sleep in, come in, we'll take it back up. Be ready to do an intentional break. Um, One of the other things we did is we had a team name that had absolutely nothing to do with anything. Most of the time, I didn't even know what the team name was until we were on the bus heading for state. And then they would be telling me this completely goofy name that they had come up with, but it was important to them and it was huge for them. Um, I tried to get them to do it, so when we would make a team t-shirt with that name on it, and then they would just get a kick out of that too, because it had nothing to do with food at all. All of this will help the team become a team and be happy to talk to each other and be very natural with each other, get mad at each other without it taking the team down. They can have conflict and get through it because they know each other. So to get into kind of the nuts and bolts of some of the things, when you're going into that competition, you've got 100 points. Your goal for the day is to lose the fewest points possible. The chances of you walking out with 100 points is probably zero. But if you can walk out with 90, you're probably going to be on the stage. So anything that you can do to minimize that loss is what you're looking at. So that means stay clean, um, communicate with each other, just cook, make some good food, put it on a plate, get it in on time. Um, do all the fundamentals and make sure that you've got those down to minimize anything that you lose. One of the things that I always reminded my students of, and in the small, tiny venue we have at Montana, where it's very cramped, there's a lot of people there, there's a lot of action, there's tons of things going on. Um, the students, as soon as they walk in that building, the judges know that they're competitors. So they're basically being evaluated from the minute they walk in the door. They don't even have their chef coats on yet, and they're still being watched. So if they're doing something stupid at that point, it might affect them when they get on the floor. So just keep them reminded that as soon as you get off the bus, somebody's watching, and you never know what's going to happen. We talked about this a little bit, but I wanted to come back to it. Make sure that you're doing menus and techniques that match your students' skill level. Don't be doing high level Michelin star food if your students cannot do that. You want them to be able to be successful with the cooking techniques that they know. Part of what throws some of the students is they'll look at pictures from nationals and they'll see these amazing techniques and all this really cool stuff. Some of those amazing cool stuff might not have won or might not have done very well at all. I always come back to that a green bean that is perfectly trimmed, perfectly cooked, perfectly seasoned, and put on the plate hot will beat French haricot verts that are tied up with poached red pepper strips and then seasoned with some bizarre lemon salt and then put on the plate overcooked and nasty. The properly cooked food will beat the pretty food every day. So the food doesn't have to be look like it came out of a five-star restaurant. It needs to taste good. It needs to look good. It needs to taste good. Look like what it is, taste really good. The students should be able to describe their menu and talk about what they're making. So that's part of their introductions when they will say, I am making this. And if they believe in their food and they believe in their menu, that will just roll off the tongue. This is what I'm making, and I'm proud of what I'm making. And then your menu that's on the table, make sure it has all the pricing and the knife cuts and the cooking methods on that menu. It makes it so much easier for the judges to know what they're looking for as they're walking around. Menus, when I was talking about losing points, this is a place to not lose points because you can have your menu packets done and perfect before you walk in the door. Calculating menu food cost is critical, doing it correctly, and then making sure you don't go over the max of $125 for the entire meal. Um, as you're going through your food costing, I always I always try to do everything by weight, normally in grams, because it's easier to convert. Um, it's easier for the judges to see. The main thing is if you're going to use ounces all the way throughout. If you're going to use grams, use that for all the way throughout. If you're going to use cups and teaspoons and tablespoons, use that all the way throughout. Be consistent in whatever your measurement is. But I will say doing it by weight is much more accurate and a lot easier to calculate your food cost. Um, Triple check your costing. Go over it again and again and again. Have every student look at it multiple times. Send it home. Have mom and dad look at it multiple times. Have somebody in a different class look at it. When you are 100% sure it's 100% right, do it all again. Um, because a simple math error can cost you points, and you don't want that to happen. Ensure all your plate photography is correct, and so it matches what you're making, because that's what the tasting judges will be looking at to make sure you made what you said you were going to make. For knife skills, you only have to do two knife cuts. So list the two cuts that you're going to do. Make sure that they are on the approved list. Every year we see students say, I'm going to mince this, and mince is not on the list. Make sure it's on the list. If you do a perfect mince and give it to us, we'll go, that is a perfect mince, and score you 0 because it's not on the list. So make sure that your cut you're doing is on the list. You can do it at any time, leave it out for the judges. They'll look at it when they get to it. Don't worry about it. Give us the best cuts you do. If you're cutting juliennes and you do a bunch and some of them are going on your plate and some of them are going for to be judged for cuts, give the knife skills judges the best ones. Watch your waste throughout the whole day. Use compost buckets if you can, if it's something that you can work into your plan. Um, if you're going to throw trash away, make sure that you're not throwing away like half a potato. Hang on to that and then wrap it up, put it in a cooler or something, and then tell the judge we're going to use that tomorrow. Something. Um, Part of I think Tournay is still on the list. I would very much encourage you to not do a Tournay. A Tournay is a great cut, but there's only two ways to do it, perfect and wrong. So there's really not an in-between when it comes to a Tournay. If you've got a student that can bang them out and do a beautiful job, sure. But you don't get extra points for doing that. You get the same amount of points as doing a julienne. So the time, the waste is probably not worth it. Um, so during the competition, you've got your team introductions. So this is when your first actual speaking to the judges officially. So be prepared. You can rehearse it if you want to. Be natural. The judges may ask you questions. Be ready to answer a question. Think about how you're laying out your 10 by 10 space. Um, you've got 10 by 10 and everything needs to be inside that 10 by 10 square. So think about where things are going. You can put things under the tables. You can use any of the space in that 10 by 10. Make sure you leave a doorway open so you can get out to display your food. Remember, you can only work on the tables that are provided. You can't like stack up coolers for another workspace. That's not allowed. Watch your waste, where you're storing it, what you're doing with it. This is what I was talking about earlier. If you're putting something back in a Ziploc and throwing it in a cooler, a judge may go, "What are you doing with that?" Hey, we're going to use it tomorrow. As if you were in a real restaurant, you're going to use it for another recipe. Sanitation is key. So be clean, be wiping as you go. Um, Remember that cutting boards are nasty. So if you need to bring extra cutting boards, do that. Flipping a cutting board is not acceptable sanitation method. Just keep your serve safe in mind as you're going through the entire day. And then glove use. You only need to wear gloves when you need to wear gloves. If you don't need to wear gloves, don't bother. Um, Especially right now, gloves are crazy expensive. So going through a ton of them for practices and competition gets really, really expensive. So you need to wear gloves when you're doing ready to eat food and maybe when you're doing something really messy. If you're cutting up a protein, if you're cutting up a fish or something like that, where you want to speed up your hand washing, then a glove is acceptable. But just to put gloves on at the beginning of the competition and wear them for the entire time might cost you points more than it's going to help you. So wear gloves when you need to. Don't really need to the rest of the time. Plating is one thing that trips a lot of teams up because they see plates from nationals, as I said, or they'll see fancy plates on Pinterest or on Instagram or whatever they're watching. It's a good idea to actually look at those as you're getting ready to practice. What are some plating styles? What does it look like? How should we design our plate? Things to remember is white space is not a bad thing. So if you have some open space on your plate, that's fine. That's great. Always remember the rule of odd numbers. Anything that you have multiple on your plate, you want it to be in threes and fives. Odd numbers just naturally look better than even numbers. Once you get over five, it doesn't really matter anymore because your brain can't see more than five. So once you get over five, it just becomes a lot. So even if you're going to do six, it's you're going to group it as a three and three, and you're fine. But think of the odd numbers because it just makes the plate look nicer. Try to keep it really tight. Try to avoid the lunch lady plate where you've got everything divided in its section. Um, Tighten plates up. You can put food on top of other food. It's all fine to do that. But take a look at how the plate looks. And then remember you have to carry that plate. So don't do an architectural wonder that's going to fall over as soon as you move the plate. Also think about how is the judge going to eat this? Am I building something that's not readily edible by a judge? So think about that. Which reminds me of another thing that I don't know that I put in here is when you're doing garnishes on your food or anything on the plate, everything on the plate, been a rule forever and ever, everything on the plate needs to be edible. I take it another step and say everything on the plate needs to be eatable because if you go to a steakhouse and you see that giant stick of rosemary on your steak, is that edible? Technically, yes. Is anybody going to eat it? No. Then don't put it on the plate. If you don't want a judge to pick it up and put it in their mouth, don't put it on the plate. So think about that as you're putting your plate together. Everything needs to be something that will be eaten by one of the judges. When you are done, all members put their hands up. That includes the captain, your fifth person if you have one. That's when time stops, is when their hands are raised. Um, I'm not sure why I put that here. That has nothing to do with plating. So I must have just thrown it in when it popped in my head. If you have, you can make little plate wipes out of cheesecloth. Cut cheesecloth into a strip, roll it up really tight, put a little rubber band around it, and you've got a tiny little plate wipe. You can have those in water. You can put just a tiny bit of white vinegar in that water, and then you can use those as a plate wipe. Takes all your fingerprints, everything off the plate, and doesn't add a smell or a taste. Be careful transporting your plates. I said that, and then be ready for your feedback and critiques. Um, Critiques are meant to make you better and answer any questions that you have. So some of it might not be what you want to hear, but it may be what you need to hear. So keep that in mind. And then as you're cleaning, um, do it. You're still under the watchful eye of a judge, more than likely. So as you're cleaning up, do it effectively, do it quickly, do it smartly. Um, I've had teams, it wasn't in Montana, but I was in another state and a team finished and then they just put a big tub in the middle of their 10 by 10 area and started chucking all their pots and pans in it. So it was loud, it was messy. Yeah, it did not go over well with anybody in the room. So that's the end, but questions.
I had a question. So is clean and sanitize and is like a hand washing sink there or
Yes. I'm trying to remember how Montana was set up. There is, was there hand washing stations? There
Yes.
was, right? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, 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 yeah. I do too many of these over the year, and
Right?
I can see the room and I can see the competitors, but trying to
Totally.
think of where the hand washing station is, I can't quite place it. Yes, there are hand washing stations. However, for your cleaning and sanitizing water, you need to bring that in.
Okay.
There will probably be a sink somewhere
Mhm.
with sanitizer set up for you. So bring your own bucket. There might have been buckets there last year too.
Yes, we're
I would,
encouraging teams to bring their own
yeah,
as,
bring your own bucket.
but we want things to be sanitized. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
will, with, a note that it wasn't yours. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So I would be prepared to bring a lot of that stuff yourself and
Okay.
then sanitize as you go. You will not have access. The only water you have access to during the competition is to wash your hands. That's it.
Okay.
So any other water you need to bring in yourself.
Bring yourself. Okay.
Don't plan on washing dishes during the competition. It's just there's no time, there's no place.
Right, right.
So I normally put a bus tub under the table, and when something was done, it went in the bus tub. Once it goes in the bus tub, it has disappeared. It no longer exists.
Great. Yeah, Cassie or Jesse, any other questions off the top of your head right now?
I do have one question. I haven't like confirmed my ideas, but for using like when we do our check-in with the meat and everything, does it have to be store-bought meat or can it be packaged from not like the grocery store?
Um, it needs to have a store label on it.
Okay.
I'm going to say that as diplomatically as I can.
Yeah, if it's like, professionally processed and all of that, like is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Like I can't go shoot a deer and then package up the deer and then use that deer meat for
right, because
competition.
that's
Okay.
not legal by any means anyway for
Okay.
so,
Correct. Yeah.
but if you have like if you have a student that is butchering their own cattle and they've got it packed, that's cool.
Okay. Sweet.
As long as there's a label on it somewhere.
Hmm.
And the idea is for most of the check-in things, the idea is to prove that you didn't do it,
Got you.
that you didn't bring in some beef and have a professional cut it up for you in class just exactly for your competition.
Got
Or you didn't make the pickles in class and then bring them. So that's what the check-in is for, is mainly just to prove you didn't make it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That helps me.
Yeah.
Because we do have a packaging plant here, and I do
Yeah.
have one of my kiddos work there. So I was like, oh my God, maybe I can get cheaper
Yeah.
food. But
If they put a label on it, you're good. Yeah.
okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and keep that in mind for like practice. I mean, you want to practice like you're going to compete, right? But if there's a way for you to um, accommodate some things a little bit cheaper, as long as it's the exact same stuff, so that your students are prepared, that's okay
Yes.
to practice
Yes.
with.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
And
Okay,
I've done
sweet.
that before too. I've practiced some with not quite the same grade of meat product as I'll compete with,
Mm-hmm.
just to save some money. And then the last few practices use the good stuff.
Okay.
But to get the techniques and the fundamentals down, trying to save a buck here and there. Yeah.
Yes.
Part of what I did too was just what you were talking about. I was in northern Indiana, so I was 20 minutes from Maple Leaf Farms duck processing. We did duck a lot
Mm-hmm.
because I would call them, say, here's what we're doing. We're the class, we're the school in the area, we're competing. And normally they would just like drop ship cases of duck for free.
Wow.
So that's what we used. And I would suggest, if there's anybody in your area that you can talk to and say, this is what we're doing. We want to feature your product. So on our menus, it said Maple Leaf Farms duckling. So we would
Mm.
put it on there. And when we went to nationals, their logo was on our sleeve.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's what their payback was. And what's cool is at the end of the year or at the end of the competition, I would take pictures of the team, especially if we won state, take pictures of them with the state trophy, and I would have them turn so the logos would show. And we might have logos on both sleeves, so we'd be doing a couple different pictures. And then I would send it to the folks that donated product to us.
Oh, that's awesome.
And just, well, it's been 4 or 5 years ago, I was at the Maple Leaf headquarters, and my team had competed in 2005. And I walked into their headquarters, and our picture was still in the entryway.
Oh,
That team with the state championship and their Maple Leaf on their sleeve. So a lot of companies really, really love helping when they can. So if you've got a company in your area, beg.
Okay. No, that's good to know because I'm like, oh my God, that's actually really smart. Just be like, we're doing a competition and we
Yeah,
need some meat. Because that was my biggest problem is I was like, I don't want to fork a like $20 per steak. Like that's a lot of money. I don't
yeah,
know what to do
yep.
about that. So okay,
So
cool.
ask them. Maybe they might not be able to give it to you for free, but if they can give it to you for half price or something, every little bit
Yes.
helps as you're getting ready. Um,
Yes.
and when we were practicing, the other thing we did when we were practicing, I had some parents that canned a lot of vegetables. So we were using mom's canned vegetables or canned pickles or something as we practiced, and then we'd get the good stuff when we were ready to compete. So
Cool.
save money wherever we could.
Cool. Thank you.
fantastic. Awesome. Well, Greg, thank you so much for the time today and the
Sure.
energy towards this presentation too. It is, yeah, recorded and this is going to be gold for, not just this competition, but I'm sure people will be referencing this moving forward too. So thank you very much
All right.
for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of want to take your presentation and show it to my ProStart kids of like,
Oh,
this
do
You
it.
is what
should.
we're doing. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
do.
I think that would be great.
Yeah. Assign
Yep,
it as, they'll be able to access it off the website too and assign
yeah,
it and give them a little quiz.
yep. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I didn't say in the presentation, I'm surprised I didn't have it in there, is um, read the rules
hmm
and have all your students read the rules over and over and over and over. Because losing a point because you didn't read the rules is sad for everybody.
Yes. Yeah. And look at the rubrics, and how you're going to
Yeah.
be scored.
Yep. Where are my points coming from?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, Greg, I did have one more question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
You have to have a consistent theme, like if you're doing like a
You do
French.
not have to,
Okay.
but it's nice if you do.
Okay. Okay.
It's not a requirement, but when the judges see that, they're like, okay, some thought was put into this.
That's silly. Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you for the insight.
And it can be pretty loose.
Okay.
It can be a stretch to put it together. But yeah, it might just be, the theme is this is my student's favorite food.
Okay. That works.
But you can do a regional thing too, or you can do, yeah, whatever. But it's nice if there's some sort of theme to put it together.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like that. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, thank you guys for all being here. I'm gonna hit stop recording.